All right, Ian, we have a Patreon.
We do. Patreon.com/CU podcast.
You're looking off the distance. I like Genesis games. What do you? What,
I was thinking.
What do you get? What do you get there?
You get the full video podcast. You get writing that I do
You get
about
jazz
once a week.
hands?
Magic fingers. Casting spells. Hangouts. Go do a hangout. I should do my hangout this week.
Oh yeah, we should do that. Maybe Sunday.
I'll do my hangout Sunday.
Did you tweet out your weekly writing?
I did.
Oh, I did to retweet that.
I did.
And you also get a poll you can vote on, right, Ian?
Yes, you do. Tell us about the poll, Pat. Take it away.
It's a lovely poll. Everyone loves it. In second place, do big video game releases get too much hype? 24%. It slipped this week. Uh-oh. Come back, big dog. I thought people would like that
Got
one.
shit to say.
Should Nintendo... This is first place. 76%. Should Nintendo remake games from their past consoles? Ian, what do you think? Should Nintendo actively remake, not just do an HD upgrade, remake games from their past consoles?
I think it really depends on the game itself. So Nintendo doesn't do a lot of remakes.
We did research for this.
They don't do a lot of they don't do a whole lot of flat out remakes.
There's been like 10 games that Nintendo's done.
The Super Mario All-Stars. That's truly a remake.
The first one.
Metroid Zero Mission on the GBA. And even that one's like, it's a remake of the first one, but they added quite a bunch of stuff to it.
But still a remake.
But it's a remake. Metroid Samus Returns. Oddly, I'm just noticing they like going back to the Metroid well. Samus Returns on the 3DS, remake of the Game Boy game. Link's Awakening on the Switch was a full-on remake. It's funny because it is, but it plays so close to the original that, but it's a remake. And then there was some various Pokemon remakes. Pokemon games have been probably the ripest for remakes.
Which obviously it's Nintendo, but it's more the Pokemon company.
It's also Game Freak.
That's what I mean. So it's like we can toss them in, but I always put those to the side.
Yeah, I mean, Pokemon is Nintendo, especially when it comes to the games.
They have minority ownership of Pokemon.
But the remakes for Pokemon are not just Nintendo wanting to do it. It's Game Freak wanting to do it.
I don't classify that as Super Mario or Link or Samus.
So that's kind of, that's basically what I came up with. I brought
up Four Swords. You said that's not really a remake.
I don't think that's really a remake.
More like a port.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, they do have some HD upgrades. So then you have got your two Zelda games that got the HD upgrades, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. And then you get the versions of the 3D Mario games on 3D All-Stars, have been up-resed to...
Sure, but they're not remakes.
But they're just ports, yeah. Right? They're ports, and you could barely even call them HD ports.
Sure.
But I do think Nintendo would benefit from remaking some of their original... remaking some of their games. I think Mario 64, more than just about anything, is probably ripe for a full-on remake.
Versus the HD upgrade they just did.
Yeah, versus the upgrade they just did.
Really?
I was really hoping to see.
But would you keep the same mechanics though?
Keep the same mechanics and the levels, but take the ideas that were obviously in their head that they couldn't flesh out then because it was such early polygonal technology.
What would you want to do that they couldn't pull off?
Just graphically. Make it look as nice as they would make a game look now.
I wouldn't have kept that as a remake though. Would you? Or just an graphical upgrade?
No, that would be a remake.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you have to do a new engine, well, then Link's Awakening isn't technically a remake because it's literally plays the exact same with new graphics.
Oh, but okay, but
literally.
but okay, okay. So all right, we're splicing hairs. Okay, so you want to see not just like a little upgrade to Mario 64. You want to see Odyssey.
Yeah,
Odyssey look to it.
The question is, should Nintendo remake? And yes, I would love to see them remake Super Mario 64.
When I think of remake, I also think of we're going to take a technological step forward and maybe change how it plays as well to some degree, or add things that we couldn't do technologically at the time in terms of the gameplay. A little bit. That's how I kind of see it.
Well, I think you would have to do that if you remade Mario 64. I mean, you'd have to add in actual analog camera control. I mean, first and foremost.
Or you can use that mini one with the little...
Yeah.
I think... I brought this up last week, and the more I thought about this, I thought it would be great, because I always had a problem with Kid Icarus. If they did a Super Nintendo-style Kid Icarus game, kept it 2D, I think that would be awesome. To see a game that maybe incorporated the different buttons a little bit smoother, had the same sort of adventure feel to it. I think there was something there. They could have done something with that. They did it with Super Metroid. I think the Kid Icarus would have sold if they did that. I think they could have done that.
Sure, but that's more of a straight up sequel than a remake.
Sure,
Super Metroid's its own.
But
game.
if they you see what I'm saying though.
Sure,
but they could do that now. Maybe add a little bit more because they haven't really.
Oh yeah, no, you could remake the original Kid Icarus and add a ton to it. You wouldn't even need to keep it 2D, but you could. You could do it in the same way that I think it was Mercury Steam redid Metroid 2, Return of Samus on the 3DS.
So you keep the same styling.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? There you go. I wanted to love Kid Icarus, I just couldn't.
Kid Icarus is a game series that, as a whole, I love the theming of Kid Icarus.
You love the old mythology stuff.
Yeah, and I love the theming of it, and I play those games, and I will tell you I like them, but they are not perfect. The first one is incredibly frustrating and very difficult, and just obtuse. Obtuse is all fucking get out.
That credit card thing and stuff.
There's
like
a lot of weird systems that work under Kid Icarus, and the same can be said of Myths and Monsters, which is the Game Boy one. Very just like odd shit going on in the background, numbers and
to match the mythology, maybe.
Yeah, and equations going on in the background. And then the 3DS one, really great game underneath all the fucking horrible controller design.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it required you to hold the system with one hand and do other shit with the stylus the entire time. Because they didn't put a fucking second joystick on the 3DS initially. So they had to think of how to, maneuver in a 3D space, and their idea was to basically use the stylus as a mouse. It sucked.
So there was almost, 25 years in between the Metroid Samus Returns remake versus the original. Maybe that's what we need, like a 20 to 25 year span to go back to the well, because I hate when you go back too soon, because then it's like, why just buy the game?
Sure.
At the time, I think it has to be the sort of game where, like I said, a lot of people missed out on that first Kid Icarus. It has to be a game like that, where it's either something kind of not necessarily obscure, but it's like, well, this isn't a heavy hitter. We're gonna make it something that is gonna get your attention with a property like that. That sort of faltered. We'll just say it wasn't as strong as the others. You know what? We brought it up before. Fuck it. I want a remake of the original Wave Race. There you go. I brought that. Fuck it. Because I just reviewed it. Ian loves it. It's a great game. I haven't played it in a long time, but Pat kept saying, I'm going to do Wave Race. And I'm like, do it. Wave Race is like genuinely good. Well, it was on my list to review, but I mean, like, I don't know why I kept putting it off. I think I did something before that.
It's a fun game.
I reviewed 1 or 2 games before that. For some reason, I did Rogue Squadron before that and kept putting it off. I don't know why I kept putting it off. There was something weird in my head. Once I play it, I'm like, this is better than I remember it.
Yeah, it's on my short list of N64 games that I will play.
I don't think at the time I think it probably got credit with the journalists, but I think when we were kids or teenagers playing it, like, oh, this is fun. I don't think we understood not just the dynamic water movement and everything, how great that was at the time, that nothing else was doing something like that, but also like the water graphics and like transparency and the reflection stuff. For an early N64 game, there was some stuff going on there. It's
rare to look at an N64 game
and this looks good.
Looks nice.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah, no, you're like, no, that's passable, but no, it looks nice.
And it was the third N64 game.
So yeah, I think the problem with Wave Race is the people who played it then knew how good it was. You're right; it got good reviews. I'm pretty sure in the magazines. But I had friends who had it. And we all enjoyed it. But the problem with the N64 is, as time went on, the N64 has so many racing games.
Oh boy, yes, do I know it.
So many racing games.
Dozens and dozens.
And once Mario Kart 64 landed in most people's collections, I think that became the de facto, that was, if we're going to play a 4-player racing game, we're going to play that. So Wave Race did get,
Well, Wave Race wasn't 4 players, but yeah.
Right. But early on, Wave Race is, people enjoyed it, but I think quickly it was supplanted by Mario Kart, and then also just has the problem of getting lost in the shuffle of all the other racing games. But it's worthwhile. Yeah, then F-Zero X comes out, and that did well, and that was popular. So like it was too early, and then it was sort of like, well, there's no characters attached to it. They're made up. You know what I mean? It's not like if it was Mario Wave Race, we would have had 7 of them by now. Right. We would have had 7 of them. Now I'm giving them ideas. Now I want to come back. Now I want beach toadstool, on shirtless toadstool, because that's the weird thing about
Nintendo. Like with Wave Race, it's close to like this is a straight racing game. But we'll put in stuff to Nintendo-fy it just enough, like a fucking dolphin you chase around while you're training. We'll make it Nintendo cute enough, but it's still a straight-up game. But Nintendo has gotten away from those straight-up games. They've sort of ignored them. Mm-hmm. Even something like F-Zero, where it's goofy and futuristic, we're not going to bring that franchise back for whatever reason. It's not marketable enough to them, even though people love the franchise. So it's like that. Those are sort of games I think they can bring back. I mean, hell, fuck it. You know, I don't care if you remake the GameCube F-Zero. Bring it. We need a new F-Zero game. It's been like fucking 20 years. It's been 20 years. Come on. I can kid about also with Wave Race. Like there's room in Nintendo's suite of software to go back to some of these C-tier properties. And to do it. That's all the conversation we had before. Back to the remakes here. I think that's I think we covered most of it. That what we think we want to see there. But those are the two big ones to me. Wave Race, do a fucking straight up remake. I think I love to see a Kid Icarus remake of the original, warts and all, but at least it'd be easier to play, maybe to manage. You know. Maybe you switch it a little bit. Maybe give me a more powerful arrow at first that doesn't go 3 feet. I mean, come on.
Blink, blink.
Come on, that's rough. That's rough when you're starting off. They did that because on Metroid it's like that. But it's not. You're not nearly as weak in Metroid, I think, as in Kid Icarus.
No, you
can survive. Samus can take care of herself a little bit better.
You are squishy and frail when you start.
You're cute in Kid Icarus, but a snake touches you, you lose half your life.
You're 3 seconds away from death at all times.
Yes. and the really, this is why the remake. If you fall, you don't die. You just fall. Come on, you can't have the static moving screen when you vertically go. Let me fall to the next level and come back up. That's a killer in Kid Icarus. That to me is a fatal flaw to Kid Icarus. That makes it so much harder than it should be there. All right, are we missing anything that they should remake here?
I think we got it
for Nintendo first party stuff. Would you want to see I'm almost curious to see a remake of The Legend of Zelda, but make it like a Super Nintendo sort of style. That could be interesting. Just as I'm sure someone's probably done it. That could be an interesting sort of thing, because I always hear about it doesn't hold up. And would it hold up if the graphics were just increased? Do you think you would like it a little bit better?
I'd love to see what they could do with the framework of Zelda 2.
Framework,
like remaking Zelda 2. I'd be more interested in a Zelda 2 remake than a Zelda 1 remake. Yeah,
for the side-scrolling action. Yeah.
They could take it into 3D for all I care. I just want to see what they could do with it.
A 3D Zelda 2. You're so when you walk around, you're walking around in 3D instead of the overhead thing?
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild, but Zelda 2.
Yeah.
That is brilliant, Ian.
Take the Zelda 2 story and
you have to walk through the swamp to get to the...
Yeah, precisely.
All right, Nintendo. You better give Ian a kickback if you do that. That's it right there.
That's it.
That's it. Maybe that's what Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be.
Yeah.
Do a time warp to Zelda 2.